So I think I want to start, just remind you about the, that most of the people have forgotten that the government and security forces has defeated most ruthless terrorist organization the world. We have to understand it was a difficult period. I mean, it was not just hitchhiking or anything. This is a war, fighting with LTT, and of course there were difficult situations that we had to stop. Our military has to stop all the military operations in order to provide safe passage for these convoys to go in, taking the risk of the LTT counter-attacking on that moment. And we had many occasions like that when, especially starting from Wakare, famous for very first time when we, the first operation in Wakare, that we had to send food convoys into Wakare. There is another very important point, that the identification of combatants, from civilians, it's not an easy thing, because as we all know that, again I will produce video clips that LTT themselves had videoed, that they are what we have captured from the LTT, that how the LTT combatants were fighting with civilian clothes. They were not wearing LTT uniforms. So and they were in civils, and also that once they get injured, if they change their uniform into civilian clothes, that you don't know that whether it's a civilian or a LTT cadre. But we treated them, we evacuated them, and we treated them in hospitals, irrespective of anybody who's injured in this area. That some of the people have forgotten and couldn't realize. I want to bring out this factor because some people talk about this civilian casualties. That it is a very difficult thing to identify a civilian casualty, and if the military had suffered 6,000 killed in action and nearly 30,000 wounded or injured at various degree, that you can imagine how much of LTT casualties should have been. But nobody talks of the LTT deaths and the LTT injured and casualties. They all put these figures also into the civilian casualty figure. Nobody talks about the LTT cadre casualties. Obviously there must be that amount of, if the army suffered that much of casualties because of the fighting, and at least the same amount of casualties you can expect from the LTT as well. I'm sure it is much more, because the firepower of the government forces is much more than the LTT firepower. So obviously there must be more casualties, but nobody knows how much, and nobody talks about that. That is why it's a danger. That you must understand that when you put casualties, that how you can identify a civilian and a combatant. Immediately after the defeat of the LTT, close to 11,000 combatants surrendered. These people surrendered, included various categories. That maybe that people, some according to their statement, some had only 1 month involvement, some 6 months, some 1 year, some long-term involvements with the LTT. But we immediately appointed a rehabilitation commissioner general in charge of the rehabilitation, and we decided to rehabilitate these ex-combatants. We had a program drawn up. In fact, IOM wanted to assist us in that. We signed a MOU, the Ministry of Defence signed a MOU with them to give assistance. And in fact, in that process, that they wanted their officials to be present with them, and also their officials to categorize these various levels, the intensity of their according to the intensity of their involvement. And they arrange some of officials to visit Colombia, one of their programs they're conducting in rehabilitating. But halfway, unfortunately, because of the pressure came from, I think there was an issue between ICRC and IOM, and they backed off from they had to, give up this whole assistance program to us, but we continued with the government funds. And it was a very successful in that we took about 500 child soldiers, and we separated nearly 500 child soldiers from others and brought to Colombo and at the Hindu college. We rehabilitated them with the assistance of Hindu Congress. They volunteered to assist in rehabilitation program, and all of them are now gone. Here also that I want to mention that I want to, even the military presence, gradually take the military out of the civilian contact. That does not mean that the complete withdrawal of, because I have placed the military camps in all over the country, whether it is Hambantota, every district we have camps now, even Matara, Hambantota, everywhere. And also knowing the development of the LTTE for the last 30 years, and also knowing the suffering that we went through because of LTTE. We don't want to see that a terrorist group coming up again, so that I have to take certain security measures, so that I have to keep certain security presence in the military presence in these areas. When you normalize the situation, normal crimes also start happening. That's what happened. A good example is when I removed the military checkpoints in Jaffna Peninsula, in Jaffna town, the normal petty crimes increased. And in fact, they requested me to put the military back on the ground. So it's when the situation normalizes, that those things happen. It is not up to a magnitude of that, what somebody might say that, but it is not to that level. And that also we have taken a lot of action, more than in other areas, to prevent these things. But this is another very important thing that I think I missed, that taking arms out of these various groups that they were complaining. For example, immediately after the war was over, the immediate next day, I gave instructions to take all the weapons out of these groups. For example, from Karuna, they had some people called Karuna group, then the Pillayan, they had, say, Pillayan group, all these ex-LTT cadres that they had with them. Even with EPDP, Plot, EPRLF, all these people had various groups supporting against supporting the government. It's not recently, from long periods that it had been there. They were supporting the government against the LTT. Of course, at that time they had to carry weapons because otherwise they can't survive. So for their own security. But now I have taken I had disarmed all these groups. Everybody I have disarmed. So maybe that, even I have given instructions still to search them, and we don't allow, if those days there was a situation that they carry weapons and go in Vaunia. But now they can't carry, only the Army, Navy, Air Force, police can carry weapons, not these groups. So we have disarmed these people. It's a very important move towards, I think it's a bold step, because immediately after that we did that, because we told them that we could provide, the police will provide security for them, that there is no necessity for them to any longer carry these things, because that can lead to these type of problems.